go ahead live. Let me make sure this is muted. That's muted. Okay, so let me, got more things open than I normally do. Let me quit out of this. And thought I quit. Okay, so what I worked on most recently was assembling some boxes, and I wanted to, that's just its own thing, but what I want to do today is revisit something where I was trying to figure out stuff to do with double-sided tape, and this is what I ended up with. Let me scale this down a little. Was this 3D animation that I had on my computer. I traced it out as a vector in Illustrator, and then I took those files and pushed them to my Cricut cutter and cut out these separate sections and reassembled it using the double-sided tape to attach the painted paper to the transparent sheet of plastic, according to the positioning that I had established using on a printout. And I like what it looks like. I want to revisit it with different possibilities of like approaches and stuff. And today I was messing around earlier with better ways to get the vector file, and there is something built into Blender where you can use freestyle to SVG and generate a single file that has all of these copies of the animation using freestyle, which tries to create outlines. It works okay if you have a better understanding of where you're starting and going. In the case of this animation, it would have done okay. I would have had to do a lot of like after the fact work in Illustrator, but it would have probably been as fast, if not faster, than doing it by hand, and it would be a little bit more accurate. So let me pull up Illustrator. It's gonna pop up now. I need to change the Adobe Illustrator at SVG. So this is an edited version of what I worked on earlier today, and there's a bunch of layers of each of the frames of this animation that I have, and I went in and isolated the individual sections and designated them as certain colors so that I would be able to rearrange this and export into Cricut as separate sections for each color. The colors are just easy ones to separate out. Black, red, white, because white as a middle is a default, and then if I just drag in the color picker to the bottom right, it'll be black, and the top right it'll be red, and then they'll all be the same file thing. So I can show you what the default is, how it looks like when it just is opened up on its own. Let's see if this comes in on, yeah, okay. This is what it looks like when you just import the output SVG. You have the separate frames, but they are just the outlines that are generated in Blender, and so you end up with all of these guys. And so what I did on my own was with all the things in this one selected, cover the frame area, select, oh wait, no, how would I did it this way. I would, these are by default a group. I would come in and have a shape that is the size and shape of the frame, have it as a copied thing, and select all of these, and then do Pathfinder divide. And then, oop, that's pulling on all of them. Don't need that. Why is it pulling all of them? Okay, now it's in here. But you have this isolated section, grab all of them, then divide it, and now you can come in here and delete the stuff that's on the outside. It also closes any open shapes. And then I went in and selected all the things that would be one color. And then I guess there it's set there. And it's just a time-consuming process, but that's what I did for each of these layers. Don't want to save those things. And I ended up with this one. Renaming all of them, you got a bunch of these individual stills that if you were to put them in sequence, 1, 2, 3, are these out of order slightly? Or are they just bumped up? Because that might be what happened. Wait, there's something off with the red in this. Okay. Let me see if that's true on this file. I might need to change something. These are just slightly out of position. Let me see if that's true in this other file that I have that I did work on to put them in sequence. I think they are slightly weird. Okay, good to know now. These are slightly out of position. Don't adjust anything. Everything's just meant to be perfectly in its spot. Okay, I need to change this out for what comes about. I have some weird little issues that I'm still learning to resolve. Because of some other little sections. Okay, this one got messed up because I had it not perfectly aligned. Let me make this adjustment. See if there are any other spots that, yeah, this one's off too. Okay. Glad that I'm noticing this now and not later on. I'd simplified some things, and blue is the one that's going to have the most issues because they are very thin. Let me get the music going. Okay, it's all just small things to resolve that are unique to individual iterations. I'm still refining whatever this process is because it is imperfect. It would have been okay for the final bit, but this is just going to make for a better overall look and style. I'm glad that I came through and did some little bits of testing sort of deals. Just very small, thin sections that are weird little issues that probably ultimately aren't going to affect the outcome because these are very small little bits, but like here, this needs to be resolved. That one would have been an issue. And this one as well. Okay, should be in better shape now. Let me just adjust this one as well. And this one. Okay. When I was does this have, okay. If you look at this shape right here, it's just like a general quadrilateral, but if you look at the number of anchor points that are on here, it's unnecessary. It has like one, I don't know, it's got like 20 of them where it doesn't need any at all. So what I had done earlier was I went into simplify and made some adjustments. But if you like mess with the threshold in different ways, you can have issues when you're dealing with however many of these at a given time. And I didn't resolve it correctly for the blue sections, which are the most finicky because they get thin in a way that the rest of the sections do not. Anyway, I organized this printout, and I need to, or not printout, this cutout file. The whole issue is that I'm dealing with vectors and communicating to the Cricut cutter is a different proposition than communicating to the printer and working in raster stuff. Different points in time, I guess I just moved things unnecessarily. It wouldn't have been the worst thing because I actually have these saved out as raster files as well, so it just would have been positioning them when I assembled it all together. Anyway, lots of stuff that I'm talking about that doesn't necessarily make sense if you don't know what it is I'm talking about. But I've got these files saved as SVG things, and I need to open them in Cricut and all this and that. But in the meantime, first things first, I'm going to paint sheets of paper. That was another faster thing that I realized is before I was working with just plain sheets of paper and painting those, and it's a better and easier thing. I've got these large sheets of sticker paper, like label print stuff, that I sort of got for use before I had a Cricut. These are just like label things so you can peel off the sticky portion. It's meant for use in a printer, but I'm just going to use it to cut stuff out and then pull it off and stick it down, and it's already evenly distributed with an adhesive, so I don't have to mess with that with my hands in the same way that I did when I was using the double-sided tape dispenser. So, long story short of where we're at, I'm going to paint these. I'm going to do a blue palette of 3 different blues. One is a darker blue that'll be a little bit thicker, one that's a medium blue, and one that is a light blue. And I figure I'll do the light blue for the thinnest section, just because that is gonna want I'm gonna want most contrast there. I'm cutting these out a little bit larger than I did before, so I'm going to have a sheet of paper for pulling the paint and covering the entirety of the paint. So I'll go in order of light to dark. Sounds good to me. Okay. You can see the paper curling. That's a result of moisture from the paint. Why I was simplifying the outlines, or why I simplified the outlines from the automated SVG export from Blender, is because when I tried cutting on the Cricut, I did a test earlier, it was cutting kind of slow, and I think it's because it was trying to hit every one of those anchor points, and in doing so, it just is wasted time because it's not getting a better cut or a more accurate cut. It's just got a different cut that's hitting all these points, but it's unnecessary because they all fall on the same line. I'm planning on trying to cut using essentially the entire paper. I made the cut file a little bit larger, so it's, instead of being exactly what I would need for scanning at 1200 dpi, it's instead a little bit larger, just large enough to where I'm less likely to have to change the file size, like make it larger and lose some bit of resolution. This gets to dry for a bit. Let's even this out a little. And move this mic out of the way. one more sheet. I'm gonna see. I just hit stop stream accidentally, so let's see what happens here on the actual stream. Still good. I think we're still good. Okay. Made a mistake. Alright. Should still be good. Okay. This is a little bit thicker of a paint, so might need more. I used more paint than I needed. Okay. These will take a minute to dry. It'll be a minute for those to dry, to get dry enough to work on, so I can talk more through of what I was doing in Illustrator or Prep and Cricut. So I'll turn Illustrator back on. If you are to come in here and switch these, that's not what I wanted to do. You can see the like loose progression of stuff. It's a slower animation, which is the sort of thing that I have trouble doing using 2D animation. So that's good. Sorry, distracted with various things. Scripts, load files into stack. Browse. You can't see what I'm doing right now because I'm working on other bits. No, that's not what I want. Gonna let that load into Photoshop. Turn off Illustrator here. Come to Photoshop. Photoshop is loading. Okay. What's happening is these are rotating slowly and moving from left to right, acting sort of like a helix. I think that's the term. Double helix is what it is in DNA stuff. Okay, those are all loaded in. Create frame animation, make frames from layers, grab these. Let's point reverse frames. This is what we're ultimately looking to replicate with the cutout paper. It's a slow animation, and it's a sort of thing that is painstaking and annoying to do, and weird with if you were working just doing traditional hand-drawn 2D animation. So I'm curious about those elements that are like difficult to replicate, but I also, this is the sort of thing that like the chaos of it is the appeal. The balance of like what I'm able to do and what I'm able to do with the computer. And what proves that something is existing in a physical space as computers advance, and it's typically the things that are like a little bit more haphazard that reinforce the physical realities of things. are the imperfections. So it's a weird mixture of like, it's very hard to make this sort of animation physically, but the computer is helping, so I'm using the digital tools to help create a physical object that couldn't be achieved entirely digitally or physically. And it takes on a surreal quality in those situations. And that's really what I'm after. Something that feels like it's presented in a unique manner that otherwise wouldn't be achievable. While I'm still waiting for some stuff to dry, I'm going to update my Cricut file to have the one that I made the adjustments on. That's not what I'm looking to do. I just want to select the thing. Okay. Got my Cricut thing set up. Sorry, it's just running on here. Let me see how dry the paint is on the first one. Still a bit wet. Where those peaks are. I can fan it at the very least. Just try and expedite it a little bit, because I don't want to get my Cricut blade wet with paint. I have a heat gun, but I think that's not a great option for this particular application. If it were on a thicker, more sturdy substrate, then maybe, but not this time. Let me see if the other two are drier at all. This one won't be dry for a long time. I can feel like the wetness of it underneath, because I applied the paint pretty thick on this guy. See how glossy it is still? It's not terrible, but it's not good for dryness level. Maybe once I've already a hair here. Once these are a little drier, or these have been cut, maybe that last one will be dry enough to work with. But this one's pretty good. I might get started with this guy. This one can be the red in the file. Okay, so let's prep it. So for that, I need my Cricut mat. Just right here, you can see the overhead light. So I'm gonna place this down. Give myself a little bit of buffer on this left side. Just running my finger to thin out and dry some of the thicker bits of paint. Okay, now I'm going to take this over to my Cricut cutter and cut it. I'm about ready, and okay. Okay, while I'm doing that, I should print out Photoshop still. Make sure I'm using the right size of this. That should be a little bit larger than... Yeah, okay. I gotta print out a reference sheet, and this should be 100% centered, print to brother. Proceed. And this is, I guess this is large. It's going slow. This file is larger. Need to prep stuff. Which means I need gloves because I'm working on transparency sheet. I have to put this at a slight angle because of the light and camera positions. It's getting close to being done cutting for the first one. Hopefully all my stuff's correct. Should be. Looks good. Got a little bit of some tears, probably because the paper was a little weak. I'll leave it be and use a different mat, or I can go all through now. Tweezers. There they are. Okay, next step is applying all these. So I need to place them where these lighter colors are. So let's go. hard to see with the reflection. one color done. Sheet looks like that stickers were taken off of. I'll keep a hold of this, but I don't know what to do with it. Okay, next color. Give that some time. This one's going to be a little bit more finicky because it's going to be the thin sections. And the thin sections are going to be cut a little bit more narrow, and so there might be issues with that. Bump, 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 bump. So it's another waiting time. While that's doing that, I'm gonna mark off the crop spots. it's a waiting game. Sorry that there's not more going on. This is sort of what we're working towards, but using this animation instead. So it's gonna have a different feel about it because it's a slower moving item. It's also constant, which is different. This one has some acceleration to it. Sort of gives it its own quality. This one is constant because it has multiples. So it was more practical to not have it accelerating. It's over halfway done cutting. According to Cricut itself, it says it's 90% done. Almost there. 97%, 98, 99. Says it's done cutting, but it is not. I don't know what metric, how it's calculated within Cricut for percentage of cutting completion, but now it's done. Trying to give these as much dry time as possible. So I'm not cutting them all at once, taking the most dry and then going from there. Okay, now let's attach these, which will be, if this were a box rotating like this, it would be the sides, the top and bottom, moving this way. That's how I think about it. Okay. one more round of cutting. And one more round of applying, and then I will scan stuff. And it should work. These ended up looking, you can't see it super well from the overhead camera, but up close you can see that these look kind of like clouds in how the white of the paper pushes through. 'Cause yeah, stuff's kind of like a cloud color. I was most concerned about this last one being dry completely. So many hairs when you have staticky things. Beep, doop, boop. Says it's 60% done cutting. $70. I guess actually, I was trying to think which one would take the longest to cut, and I think it's this and the mid blue. The light blue on the edge, I guess it has about as much cutting. There's about 4 for each one. There are a number of frames where there are just like about 3 of the light blue, but it seems like there's always there's a bunch where it's only 3 for the. Anyway, it's almost done cutting. Okay, so this one's cut, and let's assemble the last bit. Gonna move the mic. Time to scan. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Scanning. Okay, now let's process this. I'll need these for the time being. So, done in here as well. And let's open up Photoshop and open up the necessary files. I need to get the scan that I just did, and I need to open up the alignment file. That's just in here. Save this as a new document. And I'm going to align this and then maybe make adjustments when I crop it. Because I've got a feeling that like half of these are a little bit over and half of them are a little behind, because that's how it was during the assembly, where the things on the left side were a little bit tight or non-existent, like they didn't quite hit the edge. So I think somewhere in the process of vectorizing everything, I ended up shifting things a little bit. I'm not sure what happened. I think I need to scan this again. Is this? Yeah. Oh, it's gone. I'm going to scan it again because these are out of focus. Is it to do with just the... I think it might have been lifted off. Is it really only affecting that corner? I think it might have been static or something. I'll feel better if I scan it again. Sorry about that. That looks better, but I can't really tell. Until I scan it. If it's bad this time as well, then I'll just chalk it up to the fact that in the bottom corner I had to use some extra adhesive, and that might have increased the thickness of the paper on top of the plastic, and maybe that pushed it far enough to make it. But I think what probably happened is I didn't place it well into the scanner. Shouldn't take terribly long. It's 1200 DPI, so moderate, but not absurd. should be about there. There it is. Okay, let's see if this is a better scan. And if it isn't, it isn't. Yeah, that's a lot better. It's a lot more in focus. I'm guessing I just placed it weird into the scanner. It's crazy how much oil is on your face. Or at least how much oil is on my face. Let me see how this looks on the other side. That's probably where I want it to be ultimately. Okay. Now let's merge that down, crop this, rotate the image, and adjust the scale to be 12,000 by 9,000. Should just jump down a little bit. Let's save this as the align file. Let that go for a moment. I'm gonna put this. Paste this in here, and we should be good. I'm suspicious of this just because the movements are pretty small from one frame to the next, but we'll see how it goes. So let's save this out and see what we have. I feel like everything's running kind of terribly right now. Give that a moment. Save that, and while that's saving, let's pull in those stills. Inconsistencies with those thin ones, especially on the inside there, but hopefully this works because it was a different amount of work to get here. I don't think it's as inherently interesting as the other animation. I think trying to go so slow isn't worth the effort, really. It's not bad, but it loses something of the chaos of it because it needs to be more accurate. It's interesting still. It looks better at this speed than it does in Photoshop. It's interesting because it's got like the 3D bits, but it doesn't as well. I think if the motion was a little bit more pronounced, it might be better. This looks more machined. But it's got a visual quality that is unique. Spiel time. If you want to watch this stream or other streams in full on demand, you can find recordings of them on my YouTube channel in the live section. If you want to buy stuff from me, you can go to my web store, traceloops.com/store. If you want to purchase something and have it shipped outside of the US, you can email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can also email me with comments, concerns, questions, curiosities, commissions, etc., etc. Again, that is traceloops@traceloops.com. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, Spotify, all of those places. I'm Traceloops, TRECELOOPS. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/traceloops, where you'll find high-resolution versions of artwork that I create during streams. You'll also find a selection of tutorials. There's a new one today about working in a grid to animate and process that through Photoshop and do it in a faster manner than what typically would be. It took me a minute to figure out what it is. It's helpful. And that tutorial's on Patreon now. If you subscribe at higher tiers, you get new songs from me weekdays, and at the highest tier, you get a monthly postcard from me with original artwork on the front, little message on the back, and a discount to that aforementioned web store. I believe that's it for today. Hope you have a nice rest of your Monday. Or whenever you're watching this, if it's not a Monday. Okay, I'm gonna head out. Adios.